Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, depending
Morning.
where you're joining us from. Welcome to the penultimate TolaData webinar of the year. We're almost there. I can't believe it's November already. And this one today is called See the Forest Through the Trees, and we're going to be discussing digital M&E tools for environmental projects. So some of the people I've been speaking with over the last week or two who told me they'd be joining today are in some of them are project managers, we have meal experts, we have people working in agroforestry, in environmental programs more generally, lots and lots of backgrounds. So really excited to show you guys around what has been created for this specific webinar today. My colleague Anya, who you can see here, who will introduce ourselves properly in the next few minutes. We're just waiting for everyone to join, but she's worked really hard on quite an excellent environmental demo project for you guys. So I really hope that everyone joining us live at the moment and everybody who watches it back later finds it really interesting. We're also hoping for a super interactive session. So maybe it's early or maybe you've had a long day, but it would be great if you guys could, leave us some comments. We're going to be using a tool called Mentimeter. You're probably familiar with it. It's one of these ones where you can use the QR code and we have polls and questions, and we really want your feedback. That's what this is all about. So maybe before any further ado, let's just get stuck right in. So like I said, this is the penultimate TolaData webinar of the year. It's called See the Forest Through the Trees, and we are looking at all sorts of digital monitoring and evaluation tools for environmental projects and programs. My name is Hannah Maroney. I'm a digital consultant at TolaData. I imagine most of you are familiar with TolaData. It's a monitoring and evaluation platform directed for the nonprofit sector. We have users from all sorts of different organizations, civil society organizations, NGOs, some governmental branches. We have foundations. It's quite a flexible tool, and the best part of my job as a digital consultant is getting to meet all of the different people and seeing the type of projects that they're building and figuring out how TolaData can best benefit them. And I'm joined by my lovely colleague Anya, who I'll let introduce herself.
Thank you very much, Hannah. So my name is Anya Farley, as you can see there. I'm a customer success executive here at TolaData. So myself and my colleague Sive and even Hannah, we are the people who would be behind the live chat and supporting you through your onboarding and TolaData journey. Our company is based in Berlin, but we also have some of our colleagues in Nairobi. And yeah, I'll be presenting the demo portion of the presentation today. And in that, we'll be looking at reforestation. And in that, again, we'll be looking at a few different streams. So education on biodiversity measures, and then also government subsidies. So you'll see how it's quite a flexible platform where you can input your own indicators and change the project to suit whatever you'll be doing. So I'll hand back over to Hannah now.
Nice, thanks, Anya. I'm really excited to look into this project a little more. I got a sneak peek, but I'm excited to hear all the other details you have to share with us. And like you said, our colleague Sive is also behind the scenes today. Sive, some of you, if you've seen a TolaData webinar before, will know Sive, or if you're a TolaData user. But she's in the comments here in YouTube. You can see this comment from her. Hi everyone, it's Sive from TolaData. Thanks for joining. Looking forward to hearing about your experience in agroforestry. So if you guys have questions during the webinar, it will be interactive. You can ask us. We'll use this tool to have the questions pop up and things, but you can also pop them in the YouTube comments for Sive to respond to. If you're having any issues, she's got your back there as well. So let's take a look at what we're going to cover today. We're going to start with why is M&E important. I feel like 99% of us here are going to know why, or maybe even 100%, but I think it's good to remind ourselves and just kind of lay the foundation for why we're talking about what we're talking about today. And that will segue into why we want to use digital tools for our M&E and what kind of tools are out there. and how to best choose them, because once you realize that there's so many, you can be almost overwhelmed with choice. We're then going to look at how to bring all of your data together in one place, and that's when Anya's going to show you this wonderful demo that she's mentioned, and we'll also talk about how to take your results further with aggregation, disaggregation, dashboard visualization, going from collection to monitoring to visualization to reporting in 1 hour long webinar. What more could you want? We'll also have room for questions and discussion, not only at the very end, but a little bit throughout as well. I do want to very quickly mention, you may be able to hear, I have a slight cold, so if I'm coughing and things like that, please send me a nice message in the comments and tell me I'm doing a good job. No, I'm only joking. I'm just letting you know in case I am spluttering over the screen. So let's get started. I mentioned Mentimeter. We're going to be using this tool to receive questions, to answer polls. So if you guys want to get stuck in there, you can either go to menti.com in another tab on your browser or on your phone, or you can scan the QR code that you're seeing on screen right now. For people watching back, this live on YouTube, when it's recorded, you'll be able to check it out. This is obviously no longer going to be active, but you'll still be able to see the results of it in a minute, so don't worry. But if anybody wants to get into Menti, just to get ahead of the game, because we'll be using it very, very shortly. The first thing we're going to discuss, though, is why is monitoring and evaluation important? So we've listed here 4 examples. We've listed 4 examples. There are so many. If you have more, leave them in the comments here for us to add on screen. But we're starting with better transparency and accountability. Because by tracking, analysing, reporting during the monitoring phase, not just after as an end-line evaluation, you're able to ensure transparency, which means that everybody on your team is held accountable from the beginning all the way through the life cycle of the project, and you're not just left kind of scratching your head at the end wondering what happened and how things ended up the way they did. It also improves decision making. So these things, I think, are quite linked. M&E, as we know, helps ensure decisions are based on data and evidence, and doing this during the life cycle of the project means that you can spot issues, you can pick out problems, you can make decisions that are based on accessible data, which is linked to the next one here, which is to identify your problems early on. Being able to spot problems before they happen or as they're about to happen, or when they're, when they've just begun, as opposed to when they've ballooned into a massive issue. This is why monitoring and evaluation is key for rolling out any project, I think, but specifically for some larger ones, which I know some of you joining today are working on. So I think it's quite a relevant one. And then finally, we've listed here to ensure your resources are used efficiently. Data collected through monitoring and evaluation processes allows organizations to identify which areas of the program require more resources, where they can be redirected from. So for example, if you have an indicator and you can see it's consistently overachieving, and you have another indicator in some other thematic area of your program and it's just really not doing as well, you've noticed a real discrepancy between how those are going, you can reallocate some of those resources from the really high achieving indicator to make it a bit more equal and even. We also have a nice little graphic. This is taken from our blog on 5 ways NGOs can benefit from M&E. I think if you go to toladata.com/blog or just Google TolaData blog, you'll find lovely things like this, some more excellent articles by some of my colleagues in the marketing department. So we've also taken some key elements of an M&E plan. This is also from a TolaData blog post. Some of you might already be familiar. We have 4. Maybe you want to add some more, let me know in the comments. But to begin, we start with a logic model or results framework, depending on the vernacular you're using. Sorry, pause for my cough. So your logic model or your results framework, the visualization of your logical framework is what we're talking about, so that it's easy to communicate to the team which outputs and outcomes are going to feed your overall goal and how they're going to translate. You have your indicator plan or your log frame. This is always going to be key, and that indicator plan is built of SMART indicators. There's some discussion on the best type of indicators that you can add to your indicator plan or log frame, but I think in general SMART is the general consensus on the best one to use. We actually ran a poll on this on the TolaData website not long ago, and I think 80% voted for SMART over another type of indicator. So I think that might tell you all we need to know. And then finally, we have an implementation plan, including a data collection plan. So you're nothing without your plan. I think if you don't know where you're going or where the data's been collected from, or you're kind of just playing it by ear throughout the program, it's not going to work. You need a clear plan. You need to be able to communicate that to the team, ideally using a digital tool, and that's why we're here today. So I told you this was going to come up super early on. If you haven't already, please scan the QR code using your phone, go to menti.com and enter the code, whichever you want to do. And we are going to ask a question: which element do you think matters the most in your M&E? So we have 5 sample elements here. We have transparency and accountability. We have efficient use of resources. We have data-driven decision-making, the early identification of problems, and then finally we have improved project performance. It's already a 50-50 split between the efficient use of resources and data-driven decision-making, but I'd be very interested to see how this progresses. I'm going to go back for one moment to the instructions just to show you guys. Menti.com, and the code is 58 54 27 44, or you can use the QR code. I can see in the YouTube comments already we have Stannis, who's joined us. Thank you so much for your comment. I'm going to pop it up on screen to show you guys how interactive we want this to be. You're happy to join the live and learn more about TolaData. We're happy to have you here, and hopefully we'll have a really interesting discussion on different types of digital tools, including TolaData. Sive has kindly added in the comments that to join the conversation at menti.com and enter this code. I can see the results have already changed to, so data-driven decision-making is still out in front. Oh, and it's actually efficient use of resources has just caught up with it. Oh, guys, it's moving too quickly. So what I'm actually seeing here is that there's quite a lot of importance being distributed along these different elements. If you can think of maybe a 6th element or something else to add, please stick it in the comments and we'll add it on screen. It is clear to me, though, that data-driven decision-making is the key factor here. It's sticking out in front, even as these keep moving, as we keep getting more responses. This is the one that's really high up. So thanks for that feedback. We can actually come back to this a little later on and see if it's changed. But for now, it's pretty clear that data-driven decision-making is the one that matters to us right now. So we want to talk now about why we want to use digital tools for M&E. We already know that M&E is important to us, but what's the point of the digital tools? I've added in this little cartoon. Some of you might already know I'm quite fond of this, where this guy is heading into a flurry of paperwork and he's saying, I have some paperwork to catch up on. If I'm not back in 2 days, organize a rescue and search team. And that's what we want to avoid by using these digital tools, okay? I've listed 6 reasons here on why we might use digital tools for monitoring and evaluation. You're going to get sick of me saying this, but if you have more, you can put them in the comments and I will add them live on screen for us to discuss. I think the point of this is really, it's learning, and Anya and I are here to really facilitate that, but also to share knowledge, So if you have that, then please share it with us and with everyone who's joining and everyone who's watching back. These videos get some decent watch backs and lots of views on YouTube. So if you have something interesting to share, then get it out there in the world. So the 6 that we have here are, to begin, improve data quality. So Whenever data has to be entered manually, the risk of errors increases. This is a given. It's human error. When you have to enter it manually, you're increasing that risk by quite a high degree. So being able to do that with a digital tool or pull it directly from a table is going to make sure that your data is of a higher quality. You can also automate your data processing. So this is related to the previous one on data quality, being able to pull it from tables, being able to automate things like calculations, aggregations, analysis, being able to apply certain queries on your tables when you're pulling the data. All of this links into automation and improved quality. You also get some real-time insights. Excuse me, pause for my cough. You get some real-time insights. So traditionally with paper-based practices, by the time the end user receives the data, it could actually be out of date. If you're doing something like a weekly collection, by the time somebody receives that information, it actually may no longer be relevant. Or if you're doing a report for a donor and they don't get it until, or they don't get to, review it until a month after it's been sent, maybe it's no longer accurate information. So being able to do that in a digital tool means that you can share data and results as they happen. You can ensure that everybody has the most up-to-date answers, the most up-to-date results, just at their fingertips, entirely available all the time. It's not being lost, it's not being delayed. You can also connect easily with more remote locations, bridging the gap then between different areas and giving direct access to what's happening on the ground. So for the beneficiaries, often be involving them in your monitoring and evaluation processes, or involving them in your project conception or remote participation or data collection. Being able to facilitate this using digital tools means that you're really bridging that gap between the people in the organization and maybe the beneficiaries who, the local people really know the truth of what's going on in all of these situations. So you can also then improve your data quality by doing that. It's all linked back to this, and it's related, I think, to making data-driven decisions, which we can see back here is super, super important. If your data quality is high, those data-driven decisions are going to be the right ones. You can also implement best practices. Digital tools can guide your team in data collection, management, and analysis. And then finally, for your knowledge management and data retention, you're not losing anything. It's all in one place. There are no data silos. Everyone has access to the right information. And if they shouldn't have access to something, then you can block it, and you can strategically set up the permissions and access levels in different tools. What tools are out there? There are so many tools out there. I've been speaking to lots of people on LinkedIn over the last couple of weeks or months even, I think, to kind of gauge what different tools people are using in the sector. There are so many. We've listed some here. Some really popular ones, I think, are Kobo Toolbox, Survey CTO, iForm Builder. Maybe you're using Excel, everything in the Open Data Kit ecosystem is quite widely used. If you have more, you can add them in the comments. For your management and reporting, then we've stuck TolaData up at the top here because that's what we're most familiar with, but you can also, depending on your needs, reach out to some other tools. And then finally, if you want to do a more advanced kind of BI analysis, I think the most frequently used one, maybe that's controversial, but the one that I hear about a lot is Power BI. We also have Tableau, Superset, SPSS. I think it depends on the type of work you need to do, but these are some common ones. So now I want to know, back in Mentimeter, what digital tools are you currently using? So everyone who has joined us, I can see in the comments Noemi and Stanis. I can't see any other names, so maybe you guys will kick us off with what digital tools you're using. Noemi has asked, I can't stay until the end, but I'd really like to catch the recording. Will it be on this link? So yeah, it will be available on this link at the TolaData YouTube channel. If you just search TolaData on YouTube, it will be the most recent video, and it should be up probably 5 or 10 minutes after we finish this up today. So thank you for that. So please let me know, what digital tools are you currently using? This could be for your data collection, for your remote participation needs, for monitoring and evaluation. Let's see. Excuse me. We're using Open Data Kit, but we're looking into other options. Okay, interesting. Kobo, Survey CTO, yeah, those are big players, I think. Power BI, agreed. Kobo Collect, MWater. Yeah, MWater is an interesting one. It's one I'm actually less familiar with because at TolaData we're really we have such a broad kind of set of organizations using the tools. So something more specific to maybe water-based programs, you'll be using MWater. Comcare, yeah, Comcare is also. eViews is one we haven't gotten even on LinkedIn. That's interesting. Power BI. Wow, thanks guys. I can't keep up. SPSS and Stata, Excel. Yeah, I think Excel gets a bad rep sometimes. I think doing all of your M&E in Excel is probably not the best idea, but for your data collection, sometimes it is just it's useful because a lot of people are literate in Microsoft, you know. It can be a quick one to roll out, I think. So what are we seeing here? I think it looks like Kobo is the most common answer. Excuse me, sorry. Kobo is the most common answer, then Power BI, Excel. Yeah, I mean, there are so many out there, and I'd be really interested to know how you guys came to the decisions for adding those tools. So if you want to add another comment in there and let me know, we can come back to that as well and have a look. But actually what we're going to talk about now is how you choose your digital tools. Excuse me, I'm pausing again for my cough. Again, you can let us know, even in the same section, how you came to the decision to use those specific tools. We've set up, 6 examples here actually of how you might take those decisions and decide on what tools to use for your M&E systems. But again, if you have some more, let us know. So it needs to be appropriate to your context and to your requirement. So there are kind of a lot of questions that fall under this umbrella. So what type of project is it? How many organizations are involved? Is it a consortium of organizations? Is it an alliance? Do you have only one organization who's running many sub-projects under an umbrella kind of program? What does it look like? You need to think about that level of complexity. Or is it a more straightforward program, maybe in a local or grassroots NGO where you are running, one specific program and you want to do that one really well? You have to think about your context, Another one then is the integration with other tools. So we've seen back here that we're looking at things all the way from maybe collection in something like Kobo or in Excel to the complete other side of kind of more complex analysis in something like Power BI or Tableau. So you want to know that the tool you're collecting your data in can integrate with the M&E tool that you choose, can integrate with the analysis tool that you choose. It's important to check this ideally ahead of time and not end up in a sticky situation. The online versus offline issue. So if you're collecting data remotely, I'm sure a lot of you are, and you need to be able to do the collection remotely and then import it into a system when you have an internet connection. Another one then is your data protection. This is a very topical issue, I think, but you need to check where your company headquarters is based because, for example, TolaData is based in Berlin in Germany, so we need to make sure that everything we do complies with the GDPR. This will be the case in Europe, but it will be different in the US, will be different in, it's a very location-based question, but it also is very important for your donors as well. So it's one thing to think about your organization, but you need to comply with partners, with donors, with government if necessary. So it can become quite an interesting issue. User friendliness. That is probably the most important one to me. As I said at the beginning, a lot of what I do at TolaData is helping organizations to get set up. They've decided to use the tool, and now we need to consult on how we're really going to make it worth your while, how you're going to get the best benefit out of it possible. User friendliness is at the heart of that. It needs to be quick to pick up. It needs to be easy. It needs to be an almost immediate benefit and not something that adds more tasks to an already busy day. And then finally, the cost. I think this will always be a relevant one, how much the tool costs. Finally, I want to show you guys an integrated data cycle with TolaData. So some of you are going to be really familiar with the system, and then others maybe not so much. So I want to just show you really quickly what it can look like. So you've told me already you're using Kobo, you're using Comcare, eViews, ODK, Excel, Google. Any of these fit into this data collection side of things. And then all of the data that you collect, whether it's imported directly, whether it is an API integration, all of it can be put in TolaData for your management and tracking for all of your meal requirements. And then if you want to do a more advanced analysis, you can go to something like Power BI, or you can use the TolaData dashboard section, which Anya is actually going to show you very soon. She's going to start with a demo of the indicators and how you can use it for your M&E, and then later on we're going to look at those dashboards. So over to you, Anya.
Thanks a million, Hannah. So exactly as she said, we'll be starting out by looking at the data collection side of things. So with that, I'll pop over to the TolaData website. So first of all, I'll give you kind of an outlook of the navigation of the platform, and then we won't be going into everything today. There's too much in it, but I think we'll be looking at some of the best features. And that includes the indicator section and the dashboards. So to start out, as I mentioned, we will be looking at a reforestation project. So to pull that project up, the first thing I'm going to do is filter my projects. And I've created these custom groups to make it quicker to find a project because we have so many at the moment. So I'm going to pop in there by my SDGs, and you can see there, this is all my projects related to the SDGs. So when we have our projects up there, I'm going to pop into this reforestation project. And on the left-hand side here, this is our navigation bar. So we were just in the list of projects, and this is the details section here. So this is an overview of the details of the whole project. You can see there we already have a lot of information like the start and end date, some notes, and this here is our overall budget, which is automatically updated from the activity section. When I pop into the sites here, you will see that we're looking at a reforestation project in Senegal, and you can see I've added our 3 different sites there, which you can see marked on the map. Again, phases, I won't go into all these tabs because there is a lot in it, but you can see I've marked out my phases here, stakeholders, etc. So there's a lot of information here about the background of a project. If I pop into the activity section there on the left-hand side, so this is really for the people and project management side of things. So you can see there we have the project setup, we'll assemble our team, get our grant advisors together, look at who will run the workshops, sign the contracts. So you can see here the flow of the project, the implementation, and then finally the evaluation of it. The indicator section here, this is really the heart of TolaData. It's for all the data collection. You can see a lot of information there, but I won't go into it just yet. The forms section here on the left-hand side. This is where you can circulate forms with people outside of your organization. So this is for more data collection, and then once these forms are filled out, this information will automatically update into the system. The data tables here, this is what Hannah was talking about with the importation of Kobo Toolbox, Google Sheets, any machine readable source that's downloaded as CSV, you can re-upload it here and use it in your indicator section. And then finally, the dashboards, which we'll get into in the next portion of this. Finally, just to show you that we have guides down here. So these are step-by-step guides of how to complete any feature. We also have our live chat, and then our admin console up here is just a bit of the background of your setup. But to pop back into the indicator section, so here you can see a lot of information. You can see your indicators, you can see the format of the indicator, how often it's collected, the status of it, and how the indicator is getting on. But the way we set these up is if I click in here to the results framework, this is really where we see the layout of the project. So you can see here we have our goal, and that's to protect and restore sustainable forests. And then that's broken down with our objectives. We want to work with local communities through education and grant subsidies. And then further, that's broken down into our first outcome of restoration of forests. And then finally, the grant subsidies. And then that's further broken down into our outputs. So this is a simple parent and child model, and that creates the headings for our indicators. So you can see there, we have our outcomes and outputs, and then we have our indicators below them. So there's two types of indicators in TolaData. We have a regular collected data indicator, and we have an aggregated indicator. And the way we know the difference between these is through these little symbols here. So you'll see that is a collected data indicator, and that is a contributing or aggregated indicator. First, I want to show you just a regular collected data indicator. So if I click in here and look at the number of trees planted in this region. So when I click into an indicator, you can see a lot of information here that's configurable, the format of it, that can be numeric, percentage, or qualitative, how often you want to collect your data, if it's a KPI, and then you can add a description as well. When I pop into the targets and disaggregations here, you can see this is our target here. So this is what we want to achieve, the number of trees we want to plant. There was no prior information there. We're measuring it in trees, and we want it to increase. I've also added a disaggregation here of tree species because we want to look at the different regions, but we also are tracking the different native trees that we're planting in these regions. So to collect data, you pop into this tab here, and what you do is just hit this green button of adding new collected data, and we want to do it manually. So let's say we add our new data, add the date, and then we also want to disaggregate this data. So to do that, I just attach my tree species, and you can see there's 3 different types of native trees. So I can break that down further. And this is really useful for when you want to go into the dashboard section and visualize your results, and this will be all broken down. And when you save that, that will then automatically update up here. Finally then, this is a regular collected data indicator, as I mentioned. But if you want to aggregate those up, so you can see here, we have our 3 regions of the trees planted, but then I also want to see an overall view of how they're getting on. So what I've done is I've aggregated them up here in this indicator, and we know that through this symbol. So when I click into that, you can see here the 3 indicators are collected together. And in this, I know Hannah will talk about this a bit more, but there's also an option here to add wastes and adjustments, and that's for double counting or even calculations. So with that, before I go on to the dashboards, I'll hand back over to Hannah.
Thanks, Anya. I love seeing it when it's all built out, because like I said at the beginning, I took a sneak peek inside the demo account to see what you had built, but the story that is created every time, I think it's super interesting, and I hope that it is really applicable to a lot of people who are joining us and a lot of people who are watching back, because I think that reforestation programs are honestly, and rightly so, really gaining traction. It's happening more and more. So being able to see exactly how you can put something like that in a system and the benefit of it, I hope will be really beneficial to you guys. So thank you, Anya. Like you said, I want to talk about what you do once you have those results, and you need to take them a little bit further. So you showed us how you can have standard indicators and aggregated indicators. And I guess this is something I really want to stick on for a minute because it can really, really, really elevate the insight that you have into the impact that you're having during the life cycle of the project. So being able to create those standard indicators, I would hope that's a given, but then being able to aggregate them within a project, but then also across projects. Maybe you want to be able to aggregate on multiple levels, for example, at a thematic area level for your program, but then also you have some partners or some donors who are at maybe a corporate level who need to see only particular results, some KPIs annually, whereas at the local level you need kind of a monthly report or something like this. You can really add the data once, but have it filter such a way that you're getting insights into all of these really specific different pockets of the system. And I think that is honestly invaluable in work like this. And it links a lot back to what we were talking about what's the benefit of doing this work and how can you get the best benefit of possible using digital tools. And I think the automation of things like aggregation and visualization and reporting is really, really one of the key elements. We have a note at the bottom here, always check if you should take the following into consideration. The first note is proportional contribution of each project to the total goal and whether you should apply weighting. So that's what you mentioned just at the end there, Anya, about how, for example, if you had those 3 indicators that you added and you're aggregating them, I wonder if I can go back. No, it seems to be gone, but you were aggregating 3 different indicators into one overall indicator and they were equally weighted. But actually, if you wanted to weight them a little differently, you wanted to maybe apply different calculations on those indicators, that's all possible, and that's what we're actually seeing here. Thank you, Anya, for picking up on exactly what I was saying. So for example, if you know that the impact is more significant in one area, or if you need to adjust for something like maybe double counting, maybe on number of trees planted you can be more exact. But for example, if you had number of community members planting trees and you had the same community members active in 2 communities which are quite nearby to one another, you wouldn't want to count the same community member twice if they're working in 2 different areas. And in that case, you need to adjust using the weighting system for things like over-reporting or any double counting. And you can do all of that using digital tools. And then you want to be able to tell the world what you achieved. So what is the point of collecting all of this data if you can't show it off, if you can't use it, if you can't generate beautiful reports with it to share with beneficiaries, to share with partners, to share with donors, to share with your colleagues who have worked really hard on this project, and also to give you a really kind of deep insight and analysis into the work that you've done, the benefit it's had, and what actions you can take to improve on it, maybe at the end of the project, at the midline of the project, or even next time when you're learning from past examples. So I think what we're going to do is actually switch back to the TolaData demo, and Anya's going to show us what it looks like when we see TolaData in action in the dashboard section.
Thank you very much, Hannah. So we're back here in the indicator section, but before we get to the pretty dashboard visualization section, I just want to pop into the data table. So to show you here again, this management and tracking of information. So you can see here, I've imported one of my data tables where I was counting the number of workshops in all my different regions. And I imported that just by hitting that green button and simply uploading it as a CSV file from my PC. So when I have that uploaded, I want to use that data. So how do I do that? So if I go back into my indicator section and go down here to the number of smallholder farmers engaged. So this means we're engaging them through workshops, and you can see here one of my colleagues have even mentioned that the information for this indicator is to be pulled from a data table. So it has all the same tabs that you would have seen before, including a results summary. This is just a quick breakdown of all the data, and also the changelog, which is a new feature here that shows what has been added, and it's just great for data protection as well. But if I bring you back into the collected data section, you will see here if I do the same thing that I've done before, but instead of adding data manually this time, by just entering the digits, I want to pull it from that data table that you've just seen. So to do that, I will hit pull from data table. And then I'm going to select my only data table that I have, and the column I want to select. So I want to count up the number of people that have engaged with these workshops. So I will hit number of participants. The sum I will choose will be the sum because I want to add them all together. And you can see there in total, so that's 925 farmers who have participated in these workshops. But that's the workshops in each of the regions. So if I want to break that down further, I will choose my region column. So there's 3 different columns in this. And the operator, I will choose equal to, and I want to find out how many people participated in the East. So I can pull my figure up there and hit save. So that is how you kind of break the results down further, but then how do you visualize that? So if I pop into the dashboard section here, and I want to find my dashboard on reforestation reports. So you can see here, these are my long list of dashboards. These were broken down into the SDGs because I filtered that before. But when you look at this list of projects or list of demos, or excuse me, dashboards, it won't be the same list for everybody because you can change the permissions for these. So if I click into the reforestation report, you can see there a lot of information. You can see different widgets like text and image widget. There is another image widget. You can see here I've laid out the contents of this dashboard, added one of our projects here, and then you can see here our project indicator widget. So we can look at our target versus what we've actually achieved of the trees planted. We've broken that down by species, and then also an overall look. So there's many different widgets, disaggregated, bar charts. You can even add maps, you can add the status of indicators, and these are all fully configurable. You can even add budgets down here as well. So you can see the flow of that. But if I scroll back up here, you can look at this on your own time in more depth. I can share this with you, and I'll show you how to do that now. So you can see the tabs at the top here. We have the details of the dashboard. We have the settings. So this is where you can share this with people outside your organization. You don't need a license to look at this. You can share it by simply copying this link and then pasting that and sending it. This is, you can turn that on and off again just by that tab there, and that will block access to your users. So I won't do that now, or to who you're sharing it with. Finally, then you can change the style of the dashboard in keeping with the brand of your organization. And finally, as I mentioned before, with the list of different dashboards, you can change that here with different access permissions. So it can be dashboard admin or edit access either. So with that, I think my colleague, I've even shared the sharing link with her earlier on, so she can share that with you now, and you can take your own look at the dashboard and all the different widgets that are fully configurable. And with that now, I think we might have some time for questions, and I'll just pass that back over to Hannah.
Absolutely, thanks so much, and you're totally right. So I was on the ball in the comments, has shared the link. I've popped it up on screen here, but actually I don't think you can follow the link from the screen. But if you just scroll a little bit down into the YouTube comments, you'll see Sive's edition, and you can follow that link to see what the public view of that dashboard looks like. And like Anya said, if you don't have a TolaData license, or if you do but you don't have access to our account, you're still going to be able to see everything on this dashboard, but you can't edit or delete anything. So it's very useful for your donor reporting, for internal reporting. We have quite a few users using this in a really interesting way. There was someone who actually showed me how they have embedded it in all of their internal systems across a global organization a few weeks ago, and it was really fantastic to see. You can embed it on your website. We can help you do that if that's something that's interesting to you, but we always love to see how different people are using it. So if you would like to check it out for yourself, you can try TolaData for free for 30 days. If you just go to toladata.com, there's a big orange button where you can sign up for the free trial. There are absolutely no strings attached. You don't need to enter any kind of payment information, nothing like this. You can just pop in, check it out, add an indicator, collect some data, build your dashboard, and see if it's something that will benefit you, because I really hope that the things that we've shown you today and the things we've discussed can make you or have made you maybe have a bit of insight into how these digital systems might be able to benefit you and to ease your workload as well, I would hope. So finally, we're going to have some questions and discussion. I hope by now everybody is already in Menti, but if you need to go back, please feel free to scan this QR code. Go to menti.com and enter the code on screen. I will go back up to Sive's earlier comment and leave this on screen, and maybe we'll move into Menti. Right now, there's no questions. I think one has been added. One has been added in YouTube from Stannis. It says, what is the innovation of TolaData compared to other data collection and management tools? It's a really excellent question. The truth is, Stannis, that we are fans of other data collection and management tools. If you want to use a different data collection tool, or if your program is already using a different tool, the beauty of TolaData is that you don't need to stop doing that. So, for example, if you are currently using Kobo Toolbox, it's absolutely no problem to excuse me, I'm so sorry. It's no problem to actually integrate your Kobo account with your TolaData account, because we have an API integration already built. So it's super, super easy to pull all of that data you're collected, and then you can use TolaData not for the collection side, but for the monitoring, evaluation, reporting, visualization side. We also have many other features in the system that we've not shown at all today. The activity section, for example, is actually a project management feature. So this can be really useful for non-quantitative tasks and activities that are happening during the life cycle of your project, and for inter-team communication, and you can check all of that out in the free trial as well. But I would say overall, something we really pride ourselves on is firstly the user friendliness of the tool. People can pick this up without training. It happens really quickly and it's super impressive, and we love to see it every time. And secondly, the team at TolaData. So like Anya mentioned at the beginning, we are headquartered in Berlin in Germany, but we also have members of the team in Guatemala, in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, in Nairobi in Kenya, and everyone on the TolaData team has a relevant background. So be it in M&E, NGO background, we all have something different to bring to the table, and that helps organizations every day. So to answer your question in a nice long-winded way, that's one of the main ones, I think.
Answer there. I think as well, I'm kind of more on the other end of the live chat function as well. And in terms of like innovation, I would regularly have clients or even people on free trials kind of giving like their opinion of the software, like, why don't you do this? This seems like it would be a good feature. This would be easy to add. And we take that on board. I would then bring it back to the developers. And we would kind of discuss that as a team, if it's something that is relevant, if it's something we'd want to add to the platform soon or rather than later, or it might already be coming up. So we are very reliant on customer feedback as well in progressing TolaData and yeah, really making it as intuitive as possible.
Yeah, that's a really nice point. Actually, thank you for picking that up. I didn't even think of it. To say that everything we've built over the last years has been based on user feedback. We talk with the organizations. Where TolaData it's a small company, and what we care about, as much as it is not an open source tool, what we care about is building it with your feedback, with the needs of the organization in mind. So every feature we've added has been because somebody has needed it at some point. And I see Brenda in the comments has said, Anya has answered my second question.
Oh, Brenda, no problem.
You're mind reading today.
Exactly, yes. I see another question there on screen. How widespread is the use? I think you're giving me your cough, Hannah. How widespread is the use? And if I pop that back up there. So there's many different organizations using TolaData. It doesn't even have to be an NGO. So you can see the list of organizations there. They are CSOs, they are NGOs, they are foundations. Other than that, there is some companies using it, although we are more geared towards NGOs because we are a social tech company and we offer 50% off. But there's no limit to who can use it or how many licenses organization can have. If I see the Mentimeter there, I know I've already answered Brenda's second question, but I can see, is there anything else to add?
Sorry, I was trying to switch between the screen to show you our existing clients. So we have another one. Does TolaData have an option for added functionality if needed by an organization? Can TolaData develop a new feature if requested by an organization? Is that an added cost? I'm guessing that this could have been your question, Brenda. But I think, yeah, Anya has pretty much answered this, that yes, if we have a roadmap, to be entirely transparent, we have a roadmap, we have plans, we have things we want to add, because everybody working at TolaData is a sector expert in one way or another. So we bring our own innovation to the table, absolutely. But we also learn from our users all the time. We add features to that roadmap based on user needs. However, if there is a specific feature that an organization needs very quickly, then we can consult. What we will do is organize a meeting between this organization and the TolaData product team, consult on how we might be able to build that at speed specifically for you guys. And that, yes, is an extra cost because it's a personalized kind of custom build. So that's another option sometimes. And then we have another question here on the data limits. What are the data limits? How much is the storage? So your storage is unlimited. When you have a subscription to a TolaData account, the way it works is it's based on a user license. So you need to subscribe per number of users who require access to the system. But once you have a subscription, there's no paywall, there are no hidden features, you can do everything. And that includes all the stuff that Anya showed you already, but there's also many, many more features that we didn't get to in a short webinar. So there are no limits on your data storage.
We didn't even scratch the surface there, and I feel like it's totally the kind of thing that once you start using it, you see other features that you like or other little bits of the software that you really get into. Another thing I think I want to mention, actually, for the free trials, so you can sign up at toladata.com, but for the free trial as well, there's no limit on the licenses that you can add. So you can add everybody in your organization to get a feel for the platform. So you kind of click around, and again, like there's different levels of use that people in your organization will be using. So if you're the M&E manager, you will be setting up the log frame or the results framework. But if you're just an intern, if you're just training, or just a member of your organization who has to enter data, that's really simple. And I suppose it's different levels of use of the platform as well. But just to mention that there is unlimited licenses for the first 30 days for the free trial. A final question there. Hi guys, if I started using TolaData and I inputted a lot of data, what happens if my work can't pay? In terms of the cost of it, we are always kind of open to discussion. As we mentioned, for NGOs, it is 50% off, so that brings 2 licenses down to €49. But we are also running a community support program. So I think we can even link that in the comments there. But this is a program that there is a criteria to get into it, but it's like an under a certain amount of employees and under a certain amount of funding. But if you are a small NGO, we're very open to talking, and you will still receive the same software, the same supports, but it's just at a cheaper cost.
Absolutely, yeah. Our community support program is something we launched earlier this year, and the whole point behind it is we want to achieve digital equity, right? It's not fair that huge organizations with massive budget and giant M&E sections get to access all of the fanciest tech, and the smaller grassroots orgs who are doing work that is just as meaningful don't have that access. There has to be some cost, quite simply because we are also an organization, and for hosting the data at the very least, we need to be able to finance that. But we want to be able to make the software available to everybody who needs it. It's not fair that these barriers exist. We want to bridge that gap, and the CSP is really something that we're trying to push in order to do so. Sive has added in the comments, if you want to find out whether or not you qualify for this community support program, you go to toladata.com/CSP. So if this exact issue happens where you use TolaData, you really want to go forward, but you can't afford it or it's not in the budget, then maybe this really reduced version will work for you. The other side of it is that if you really can't go forward, you can also export everything that you do put in. So for example, if you're using TolaData for a year and your project ends or something like this, the data is not taken from you. It still belongs to you. You can go to the exports tab, and everything that is put into the system can also be taken out. And this is then further important for if you want to do, more advanced analysis, or if you want to hold it somewhere else. It's your data. You can take it out. It's no problem.
And actually, again, on the free trial, when you set up all your data during your free trial, if you come back to us in another 3 months and you say, hey, I want to start paying for a license, your organization is still there, all your data is still there. It's not immediately deleted. So that's still all accessible as well.
Yeah, exactly. Everything is deleted in line with the GDPR, so it's held on to for a little while, specifically if someone deliberately asks us to not completely remove their account. So you can let us know. We're a caring team. I think we want to make it work for everybody.
There's another question there from Sarah. How long does the license last? So that's dependent on how long you want it to last. So if you can pay it annually, or you can pay it month by month. It is the same cost. You don't save anything by paying annually, but you can cancel it anytime. So it's totally up to your organization, depending on how long your project's going to take. And again, you can stop the license if your project's over, and then you can restart it again. So there's no limit on that, which I think is something your users find.
We're not trying to trap anybody into using a software that they don't have the need for at any time. It's completely on the other side of how we work as an organization. It's not something we want to do. We've had some other lovely comments from Chella. Quite an interesting presentation, well worth my time. Really, really glad to hear it. And Brenda said, indeed, Chella. So this is the type of interaction that we're really looking for, especially as we're beginning to wind down for the year. Maybe some of you have been at our webinars before, but we have one more this year at the very end of November. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anya. I think it's the 29th, or the 30th. I can't exactly remember, but if you keep an eye on our LinkedIn page, you'll see for any future webinars coming up. And then the last thing I think I'd like to mention, seeing as there's no more questions, is if you have some feedback for us, we want to hear it. If you have some feedback on how this format could be improved, or if you have something, maybe an idea for a different style of webinar, different topic that you'd like to see us discuss, like I mentioned, the TolaData team is built up of experts from all different sector backgrounds, so we can really put our heads together to work on, some quality kind of insight, facilitating knowledge sharing, and we're really looking forward to doing a lot of that next year. So you can reach out to any of us on LinkedIn, Anya, Sive, or myself, Hannah, or just write to us at info@TolaData. So we'd love to be able to foster some awesome relationships with you guys who've been attending these webinars. So
of course, and when I see any sign-ups come in for the free trials, that'll be myself or one of my colleagues contacting you and saying welcome. So do sign up, and if you're the only member of your organization who joined today, you can ask us for a demo, and then we can present kind of a more in-depth look at the platform and the different features. We could present that to your whole team if that's something you're interested in as well. But I just want to finally say thank you very much for your time, and it was a pleasure presenting today.
Yeah, I echo that. Thanks so much, everybody. And I can see Sive in the comments saying the same. Thanks for coming. Have a great day. Couldn't have said it better. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks.